What is up, guys, and welcome back to another video in the studio. And you know what? Let's get real. Stop what you're doing. If you've got this on in the background, stop what you're doing, because let's talk about the personal rig, because I know you guys like that, and we don't often talk about it, and I don't really know why. We see a lot of hardware come in and out of the studio. Some gets to stay, some unfortunately has to leave. And the downside of all of this is that it often means that I don't have a set personal rig, and there's been a few different computers that I've said, you know what, this is my rig, I'm not going to change it, and then I need parts for a build guide, and then everything gets a bit mucked up. So the idea of this video is to show you what's in my personal rig now, and this is my personal rig. I'm not going to keep taking it apart. This is going to be what I use to edit all of these videos. It has been for the last couple of months, and it's only hopefully going to get better over the next few months while we work towards the eventual goal of having a fully water-cooled system with a full build guide to show you how to do it. So at the moment my system is in a Silent Base 600, and you can find the full review of this case in the top right hand corner. And this is a pretty good case. It was fairly easy to build in, but there's a few things about it that I didn't quite get on with so much. There wasn't a much cable management room at the bottom left hand corner of the case, and while it looks good, I don't think it necessarily looks premium enough to house all of this hardware. In terms of the hardware itself though, I have a MSI X99 board, and unfortunately the RAM slots on this don't work. It's the X99A Gaming Pro Carbon, and I actually ended up quite liking the board. It is just a shame that some of the RAM channels don't work quite properly, or at least I couldn't get them to work, which is why we're migrating away today. Then we've got a Intel 6900K 8-core processor, and then moving down the rig we've got a GeForce GTX 1070, and this is the MSI version. It's very, very cool, very quiet, and I do approve. Again, you can find the full review of that in the top right hand corner. SSD at the moment is just one I had lying around. It's a Crucial something. What is it? It's the MX100, something very similar to that. Anyway, it's only a placeholder that is going to go. Power supply is the HX1200i, and this is a very good power supply that I've been using for a while. Granted, you probably don't need that much horsepower or need to spend that much money, but one of the benefits, I guess, of working with Corsair is you do get a Corsair power supply, if you ask nicely. And what I plan to be doing with this system is migrating a few components, as you've probably already guessed. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving to the new Strix motherboard. I say new, it's not that new anymore, but the X99 Strix motherboard from Asus. As personally, I prefer the BIOS of Asus motherboards. I prefer the fan control, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's got RGB lighting, we can fit M.2 SSD in it, and unlike the MSI board that I've currently got, there's more spacing between the top PCIe slots, which means that if I do want to go SLI and I don't water cool, I'll have breathing room between the slots. As far as the SSD goes, if you remember from that Western Digital trip not that long ago, they very kindly gave me a WD Blue drive to review, which I've done, so I've now got this lying around, and this is going to be a great drive for my boot drive. The eventual plan is to move to a M.2 SSD and then use this as a secondary SSD for all that video editing and a few games, but in the meantime this is going to be my main drive. And then RAM wise, at the moment I've got, oh, it's happened again, isn't it, for Christ's sake, that keeps happening, it keeps falling on the floor. RAM wise, at the moment I've got pretty cheap Crucial ballistic stuff in my system. It's 2400 megahertz. I say it's pretty cheap, there's nothing wrong with it, but I asked G-Skill very kindly if they had any RAM they wanted to feature in a video, and they said yes, we've got some Trident Z, and Trident Z is one of the best, or at least the fastest bits of RAM you can get on the market today. This was the fastest, I believe, at one point. It's 3200 megahertz, but they've since released 3600 megahertz since doing this video, which is just typical, isn't it? Can't complain though, this is going to be super quick and hopefully should speed up, or at least make my computer a little bit more responsive in very high intensive tasks, maybe like editing and things like that, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't really know. So that's my current system, that's what I'm going to be migrating to, and this was the build process. there you go. That was the build process. Took around about 2.5, 3 hours, but that's more because I had to film it, so imagine it takes about 3 times as long. So call it around about an hour, give or take, if you weren't actually filming it. And my initial impressions are very, very good. The best thing I've noticed so far is just how quiet this thing is. The old case, don't get me wrong, it was very, very quiet. It was the Silent Base 600. But at the moment, all I've done is got the computer, installed Windows, logged into my accounts, and I'm ready to start using this, testing it, and then I'll be updating you guys later with a full studio tour with performance, benchmarks, all of that sort of thing. Clearly, the fans on the case do an excellent job, as even putting my ear as close to about, I don't know, 15, 20 centimeters away, I can't hear them, which is very, very impressive. So I'm really happy with the combination of that and then the Hyper 212, which is a fairly basic air cooler, but then strapped 2 of the magnetic levitation fans on top of that, because they're really quiet at idle. If you're not really doing anything and you've set up your custom fan curve properly, then they remain really quiet. But as soon as I hit the render button on a video, they ramp up and the cooling stays really impressive, even with an overclocked 8-core CPU. So while the performance aspects will be coming in a later video, the aesthetics of the case, I have to say, are really nice. I do still think that Phanteks Evolve ATX tempered glass is a nicer looking case, but I think they are targeting slightly different markets, as this is probably the most adjustable and versatile case I've ever come across. It's very, very big, and I noticed that because when I'm normally filming case reviews, I can quite easily, I can flip the boxes over and do the sort of standard opening the box shot, and it was incredibly difficult to do with such a large case, and the box of course was even larger. But as long as you don't mind having a larger case, you can fit so much in here. You've got loads and loads of hard drive bays. To be fair, I've taken most of them out for better airflow. If you want to put water cooling stuff in there, which I may well do, I haven't decided which case I'm going to do yet, then this is going to be ideal. You've got so much space. Another thing that's quite cool though is that you can invert the entire motherboard layout so that you can have an inverted case if you so desire. Obviously that means that your window will then be on the right, which will benefit some people and other people it won't. But if it doesn't really make much difference, well, you can build in it now, use your standard layout, and then in a year's time or maybe a few months' time, if you feel like having a change, you can invert everything and then have a whole new look from the same case without having to spend more money for different aesthetics. Another thing that is quite cool about the case though is the fact that that tempered glass does look so gorgeous. And again, while the Phanteks system was slightly easier to actually get the side panel on and off, I actually prefer having only one tempered glass panel. I don't really like the fact that the Evolve ATX has a tempered glass side panel on both sides, as it means you see that horrible ugly cable management. Even if you do a good job, I still don't really think it's going to look all that great. As far as the RAM goes though, I'm really glad I went for the right colour scheme, or did I say the white colour scheme? Either way, I think the white colour scheme was the right colour scheme, because as soon as you get the Corsair magnetic levitation fans with the white LEDs shining on the white tops of the RAM, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I know Corsair do some Vengeance LED, and I would definitely be interested to see how that looks in here, but at the moment I'm really satisfied with the way the RAM looks, and the same goes for the entire overall system. The Asus X99 board definitely looks like the better board from what I've used so far, but as far as stability and things like that go, obviously I'm not going to be able to test it, but I really like the way the LEDs work on the board and the synchronization between the LEDs that I've plugged into the case and that they go around the outside. They're Phanteks RGB strips and then plugged straight into the header on the motherboard. I really like the way that from the off, you don't even need to configure anything, you get some nice cool effects that affects the entire case. This did happen with the MSI board, no doubt about that, but personally I think the Asus motherboard looks slightly better, but that is going to come down to personal preference. And so then, there you go. That has been the update to my personal rig, and you can see everything that's actually inside and what I use to render pretty much all of my videos. If you have any questions or suggestions that you think I should take note of, then please leave them in the comment section down below. Like this video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, subscribe to see more videos like this, and of course to see the full water cooling project that we are doing in the next couple of months. I'm going to use pretty much the same hardware. There's going to be a few tweaks here and there. Case may or may or may not change, not 100% decided yet. And if you do want to see that again, then hit the subscribe button and you won't have to go looking for it. If you want to see the full review though of this case, which is the Dark Base 900, or at least the Dark Base 900 Pro, then you can find that in the eye in the top right hand corner when it's available, but it is going to be up in around about a week after this video, just to give you guys a little bit of a break. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, and synchronise the audio, please. Oh. Well, at least I've got a blooper for the end of the video. Don't often have that. If you want to check out more videos with things happening just like that, then you can find the links on the right hand side of your screen. They will take you to appropriate videos with more sticks of RAM falling down on the floor.